almost every single bodily function in some way or another, cellular or otherwise, has to utilize water.
This is the Begin Within podcast, where we believe real, lasting health and fitness requires you to start inside before you work out. I'm your host, Nate Slegger, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes of fitness. You already know exercise is good for you, but what about all the other things in life that affect your fitness? If you're looking for extra motivation to get started or to make sure you keep going, this is the place for you.
Produced by BeginWithin.fit.
My guest today is Dr. Adam Mootz. He is a chiropractor who practices not too far from me and who I had the privilege of working with some years ago as personal trainers. And he now happens to be my chiropractor. So some of the things that we're going to talk about here on the show are things that he and I have already talked about when it came to my own treatment. And as we just discuss helping the people that we each work with to live the healthiest lives that they're capable of living and to try to support them in doing that. That said, our topic today is hydration, which hopefully before you turn this off, I know is not the coolest of fitness topics to cover, right? Man, we like cool answers. We like secrets that can help us. And being told that we have to drink more water isn't exactly the answer that maybe we wanted. But you're going to find today why it is so important for you and me to pay attention to how much we're drinking, water that is, and making sure that we're staying properly hydrated. All right, just a quick preview before we get started. I want to kind of prepare your mind so that you're listening carefully for some really key themes here. Number one, like I already mentioned, listen for why it's so important that we all stay hydrated. You know, we're going to talk about the benefits of hydration and the consequences of not being well hydrated. So listen carefully for those. Then number two, you're going to be able to answer the question, am I hydrated? Are you properly hydrated? You're going to be able to answer that question from the interview. And then number three, I want you to pay attention to some of the tips and the tricks that Dr. Mootz gives about how we can make sure that we are drinking enough water. So, that said, here's my interview with Dr. Adam Mootz.
Everyone thinks you should drink water. You should have water. You should be hydrated. But like you were saying, and when you asked me to do this, it's like no one really knows exactly what that means. And I feel like that's probably one of the most undervalued aspects of our health. You know what I mean? No one really quite understands like what does proper hydration mean and how important and how powerful it can be in one's health. So at first I was like, all right, people might not be super into it, but then it's like, you know what? This is something super important we should get into.
Right. Yeah. And it's not cool, right? Like, it's like,
right.
Tell me the secret. And you're like, well, are you hydrated?
Right. Exactly. And that's just it. I come into it every single day into practice, you know, when everyone just kind of asks, well, are you hydrated? And every patient or anybody just kind of says, yeah, I think so. I probably could do better, but yeah, I think so. And that's about as far as a lot of times the topic goes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, you got to dive a little bit further into that a lot of times because they just think their morning cup of coffee and, you know, maybe having a Gatorade in the afternoon counts as hydration, you know, then they're good, you know, they drink when they're thirsty, so they're fine, you know?
Right. Okay. Well, let's do this. Can we talk about why it is so important? Just the health, the good movement, to being as pain-free as we can be, and then maybe visit how to do it, like what it actually would look like.
Yeah.
So why is it so important?
Okay. So everyone knows water's a huge aspect of life, but most people don't even realize, I mean, our entire makeup, our entire body is about somewhere in the neighborhood between 60 and 70% water, like for between your tissue mass, and even certain organs and tissues like that have an increased water mass. So like your brain, for instance, is about 83% water. So when you don't have the proper intake of water, you could understand how quickly things could not operate efficiently or at its 100% max, basically. And so almost every single bodily function in some way or another, cellular or otherwise, has to utilize water. And we need to constantly replace that water. And if we don't, our bodies can't work nearly as efficient.
Okay. Got it. What about, so like in your realm, dealing more specifically with healthy movement, being pain-free, muscles, bones, those type of tissues, as well as connective tissue. Why is it so critical for your patients?
Yeah. So specifically in my world, we run into why hydration is so important, or the issues we run into are, lots of people coming in for headaches. Dehydration is one of the most important aspects for headaches that people just don't realize. When we get dehydrated, muscles get tight. They're not hydrated. They're not supple. They just kind of get ropey. And especially in the backside of the head where you've got all these little suboccipitals, they get real tight. And so when they get tight, they kind of clamp down on some nerve tissue. They pull us out of alignment. And then all the time we're wondering, why does this patient just keep running into headaches? We keep fixing them, and then they just kind of keep coming back. And so water is huge for that. We also do a lot of disc care in our office. Well, the discs in the spine are made up of about 80% water or so. And so when those get dehydrated, or when you have chronic dehydration, there's research that shows that you have early arthritic change due to chronic dehydration. So we're constantly seeing that or talking about that. And just from a mild perspective, muscles just kind of get tight throughout the body, and they're just not as elastic, and it just runs into all sorts of musculoskeletal issues that can really be fixed, or at least prevented a lot of times, by water.
Yeah. Wow. I was thinking, as you were saying about how much the brain is made up of water, what, some of the cascade of complications would be if, that's not getting what it needs, right? Like,
Yeah.
Am I even thinking the way that I should be if I'm not hydrated?
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And mental fog actually can be one of the first signs of dehydration. Of course, anytime we start talking about dehydration, we think severe dehydration, where you're, unconsciousness and things like that, seizures and all that good stuff. But yeah, even in mild dehydration, you can start noticing, maybe your mental acuity is just not what it should be, not as clear as it should be, Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
It is. Yeah. I'm glad we're talking about it. As I'm like sipping on a coffee, I should get on the water here. What does healthy look like in your opinion, from your perspective? What should we be doing? What should be our focus? And if it's a fluid ounce target, or what do you feel like would be the best?
Sure. Yeah.
To hydration.
I feel like everyone used to hold on to this adage of 6 to 8 glasses a day. Everyone always just thought, yeah, you just have 6 to 8 glasses a day. And for most of us, okay, well, how big's your glass kind of deal, what is that even? I like to put a number on it, because people then can actually, take into account each day, all right, how much have I drank? If you just kind of tell them, hey, drink as much as you can throughout the day, people are going to be pretty vague about that and all that good stuff. So even if you took, 6 to 8 ounces or 6 to 8 glasses a day, let's just say the normal glass is around 8 ounces. Well, someone's only doing 6 glasses a day at 8 ounces. They're only consuming 48 ounces the entire day. And that's just not enough. Research shows that you should be getting about half your body weight in ounces a day. And that's pretty much at just a substandard kind of almost minimum. It should increase if you're doing, hard workout plans, things like that. If you live in a warm climate, if you're sweating constantly, that kind of stuff. So I always suggest that at a baseline, patients should be half their body weight in ounces per day. And that also means you just can't chug a bunch of water at the end of the day either. So that doesn't work either. So I even put a rate on it for people, because there's only so much that your body can intake at a single, bit of time. So usually I limit that to about, I try to say every 4 ounces, every half hour is what you want to aim for, basically.
Yeah. I remember you saying that to me, and I was like, it almost like blew my mind when I looked at my, I had at the time, like a 32-ounce bottle that, every 2 ounces I think are measured. And I was like trying to get a gallon in every day. Right. And I remember you say like, well, it's just like, 4 ounces every half hour. And I'm like, what is that really? And it was like a gulp or two.
Yeah. It's really not a ton. Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, I have these people, oh, shoot, I haven't drinking any water today, or they've got to get one more bottle of water. So they just chug the whole thing. Well, when you absorb that goes into your bloodstream, right? Well, you can only have so much blood volume, right? Your body wants to maintain homeostasis. So your kidneys are going to filter out excess fluid. So if you have just this big increase in fluid intake all of a sudden, well, your kidneys are just going to kind of filter that out. And that's the classic, oh, I'm peeing every 5 minutes kind of deal,
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Slow and steady wins the race.
We say that all the time, man.
That's it,
so
man.
True, right?
Yeah. And then I always get this question too of, well, what if I drink too much? Or can I drink too much water? Am I going to run into health issues? Everyone kind of hears these random wild stories. And while it's possible to potentially drink too much water, even according to like the Cleveland Clinic of Health, healthy, normal individuals really don't have a limit to how much water they can drink safely in a day, upwards of a gallon and everything like that. Now, if you have maybe some conditions, heart disease, if you have maybe end renal failure, kidney issues and things like that, then maybe you need to, be more closely monitored with your doctor and all that good stuff. But by and large, most healthy individuals don't need to worry about drinking too much water.
Gotcha. Okay. So there'd have to be like an underlying issue in order for drinking too much water to be an issue.
For the most part. Yeah, exactly.
A healthy body will take care of the extra.
Exactly. Now, if someone was on a mission to purposely try to go to town and try to make themselves, sick and things like that, it's one thing. But yeah, if you're drinking that steady rate, 4 ounces every half hour and all that good stuff, you don't really need to be worrying about drinking too much water. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any, as you've worked with your patients or with yourself, any like little tips or tricks to making that happen every half hour?
Yeah. So that's a big deal too, is, you have so many individuals say, I just don't like the taste of water. And, maybe part of me is like, well, too bad, you got to drink water, but right. I get it. A lot of people, if you just don't like the taste, you're just going to have that aversion to it. So a lot of people ask me, well, can coffee count? Can Gatorade count? And things like that. Well, the downsides of those is, Gatorade has sugar, increased calories. And a lot of people are trying to limit their sugar intake, right now and everything like that. Caffeine is a mild diuretic. So if you're constantly drinking coffee for your fluids, well, your kidneys are working extra hard to get excess fluid out. So you're kind of combating one thing for another.
Okay.
A lot of people, these days are kind of going to, zero sugar things, but a lot of times the sweeteners that they're using are sugar alcohols, which a lot of times aren't great for you, aspartame, sucralose, that kind of stuff. So I tend to tell my patients to stay away from sugar alcohols. One of the biggest tricks that I use is, throw some ice in the water, put some, lemon wedges in it, any other type of fruit or vegetable, don't pour half your glass of orange juice because then you've got the sugar thing there too. But, cut up some strawberries or some cucumbers or anything like that and just throw that in the water. And then a lot of times, part of just drinking water is just getting in the habit of drinking water, not necessarily because you love the taste, but just getting in the habit of just drinking water.
Yeah. Build the habit. Huh,
exactly. Cool. Then you'll do it without thinking it.
Yeah. I scratch my head too when people are like, I don't like the taste of it. I'm like, if you don't like the smell of the air, are you going to stop breathing? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Still got to breathe.
exactly.
Still got to do it.
It out a little bit. Part of it I can understand for sure.
Yeah.
And so we try any which way, typically with my patients, if they're, I mean, it's incredible. Sometimes patients will say, I'm lucky if I get maybe 12 ounces of water a day for as long as they can remember, you know? And so right from there, do I tell them, hey man, half your body weight in ounces? No, because that's probably unattainable for them, you know, but can I tell them, all right, can you triple it? Can you go from 12 to 36? Because I guarantee you're going to feel better, you know?
Yeah.
And then we just slowly make those steps. And I think that's part of it too, is they don't think they like the taste of water, but that's just because maybe they're not in the habit of drinking water, maybe, you know? And so if they do it more often, I think they get used to it.
Yeah. Okay. Man, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I have kind of I guess sort of a wrap up question, one that I ask all the guests on the show here. And this one's wide open. Okay. We can go off the water topic, but if you're working with somebody who just has a ton of changes to make, you know, like living healthy, making effort at moving toward healthy, just hasn't been happening at all in their life. And this whole process, just even maybe listening to this, just like, oh man, that's just overwhelming. Like, what would be some advice that you might give them from that place?
That is a really, really great question. I think first off, me as a healthcare provider, I like to gauge for how prepared and how motivated the individual patient is. Some patients are ready to make several changes and be able to devote the time and the energy and everything and go full bore into it right away. And so for those patients, I'll try to give more to them and what I think they can handle. On other patients, they've got so much on their plate right now anyway, and anything more I add on them, it's just going to, you know, get them to just drop off the cliff. I think for those patients, it's more about just encouraging them to keep going and maybe making just a teensy little change at a time. And then just gradually through time, hopefully building more and more into that.
Gotcha.
You know, I think a lot of people, like we talked about earlier, maybe just need to start developing better habits, you know, that kind of thing. We fill a lot of time and a lot of energy and everything into things that maybe don't matter as much. And so I try to refocus them in terms of, all right, what are you currently doing and putting a lot of energy to? And can we maybe not do as much as that and start to put your energy into, you know, this thing that's going to promote your health, basically. And I think if you frame that, then patients can really get a better understanding of how it can be attainable. And then, like we said before, once you build that habit, there's really no thinking about it anymore. It's just, you know, part of your healthy lifestyle.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, as I was listening, I something else that I've appreciated about your approach, and let me say this first, is the maintenance aspect, right? I know as you've treated me, it's like, hey, come in while you're still feeling good so that we can keep it that way. But I have to imagine that a lot of your work is for patients that don't listen to that advice, right? Like I just come in when I have a problem.
For sure.
Tell me a little bit about that perspective that you have toward like just the maintenance of health.
Sure. Yeah. So number one, I view myself as a public servant, right? So I'm here for the patient on whatever they want to attain. And for some patients, it's like, dude, get me out of pain as quick as you can, because I want to go right back to work and get, you know, back onto my stuff. And I'll see you when I can't walk, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I'm here for that patient too and everything. But in a larger discussion, like what we're talking about, health and maintenance and things like that, I think just always being a little bit more proactive rather than reactive in our healthcare is going to be so much more important. So a body that stays in motion is going to be a much healthier body long term. And so, you know, chiropractic has always kind of been on that page of why don't we just kind of take care of our bodies first rather than kind of waiting to get sick and then doing something about it. And so, yeah, I think it's exactly what you preach every single day when you're with your clients and things like that. Man, the healthier you can be now, the better you will be down the road, you know, the less obstacles and things like that. So it's different for everybody. I mean, I have patients like yourself who really like wellness and they like to be at their top of their game as well as they can move, as well as they can feel. And that's awesome. And that's ideally what we want to see. I'd much rather see healthy people just trying to maintain their health rather than people who can't move and can't get up and down off the tables and everything. But at the same time, not everybody has the same goals, and I need to respect that too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm happy to know that I'm classified with those those patients.
You're at the top, my man.
I worry sometimes that I wouldn't be, but okay,
You're
man.
doing great. You're
Hey,
doing great, man.
Dr. Adam Mootz, thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Are you getting thirsty? If you're like me during that interview, you went and found your water bottle and you got busy. Wow, right? So back to those three themes. Things aren't operating efficiently for you. You got headaches, you've got back pain. Guess what? Water is involved, right? Being dehydrated might not be the cause of the problem, but water is involved in the solution. So, again, we like complicated answers. We like cool answers. We like answers we didn't expect that are interesting and fun. And maybe drinking more water just is too simple of an answer, right? But I guess the other side of the coin is this. Why not start there? Why not start with the simple answer, the one that's easy? Make sure that you're properly hydrated and then go from there if some of those problems still persist. The second thing I asked you to listen for was the answer to the question, are you hydrated? Well, are you? 50% of your body weight in fluid ounces of water per day is the place to start. You heard it here from an expert whose job is to keep people out of pain and make sure that their whole body is operating optimally. 50% of your body weight in fluid ounces per day. So the question is, in the last 24 hours, have you guzzled that much water, right? At a minimum. And then we also learned, start slow. Just be slow and steady about the process. Like that is what's going to work the best. Don't try to go drink a gallon of water in the next hour. But my goal for you, if I may, or an action step that you can leave with is why not track how much water you drink in a day and see where you're at with your water. I mean, that's the place to start, right? And then if you need to increase it, take some steps to do so. And then, that final theme about ways to drink more, I think, again, we want to find some really awesome substitutes, some cool alternatives. Like the bottom line is it's water. There really isn't a lot that you can substitute for it, but there are some ways that you can get more in. Dr. Mootz shared those. So if drinking enough water is something that you struggle with or you don't like the taste, there are some things that you can do, but you still have to drink it. There's just no way around it. So, the action step for you then probably is just experiment. Try some different things so that you can incorporate the habit of drinking more water throughout the day. And if you need to, forget about the taste. Sometimes we do things because they're good for us, and maybe it's not all that enjoyable, right? But the results are enjoyable. Better energy, clearer thinking, less headaches, less pain, a body that moves better. Those results are worth the discomfort, if there's discomfort, in drinking some water. Do what it takes, and then start with something attainable. So in parting, I have an invitation for you. At Begin Within Fitness, we do nutrition coaching. We work a lot with our clients on nutrition, and we have a pretty cool program that helps clients get from, a diet, and by diet, I mean a way of eating that maybe they're not being very intentional about. They're not making, a lot of choices for the sake of their health. And our program helps them get into healthier eating. So it's not a diet, and there's no foods that aren't allowed, and there's no, weighing your food or using measuring cups or counting calories even. So what I'd love to do is sit down with you on a call and go through it with you and provide you with your own personalized nutrition plan. Here's what you need to do in order to get that. And that's totally free. It's just on me. We'll just sit down for 15 or 30 minutes and I will put that together with you and show it to you. And you will leave with your own personalized nutrition plan. But here's what you need to do in order to get access to it. Find me on Instagram. I'm at Nate Sleger, NateSleger. And send me a picture on Instagram of your water bottle. That's all I want. If you want to send me a message with how many fluid ounces of water you drank that day, go for it. How many fluid ounces of water that you drank today, along with a picture of your water bottle. And that will get you a free half-hour appointment and a free personalized nutrition plan. I will get it for you and look forward to the opportunity to meet you. So that's your action step. Get your water bottle, take a shot of it, and message me that picture on Instagram at Nate Sleger. So looking forward to seeing those come in. I hope you have a great week, and I hope that you're staying hydrated. Talk to you soon. If you are tired of feeling frustrated and disappointed with fitness and you're ready to get on the path to being the healthy person you want to be, just go to beginwithin.fit and click the Join Our Challenge button. We can't wait to support you in your fitness journey and help you to get the results you deserve.